Hey class, we made it to the final lecture. This is it. It's the digital future part, and I mixed in the cyber war part directly into this too. I think it's important that we cover this before we exit this class, because I think that it's very important that you get a hint of what's going on in the world today as well as the future. We call this the digital future lecture, but it's really about the digital present and where we're going, and to our eventual resolution at the singularity, the moment in which AI becomes sentient, which is in the horizon, probably within our lifetimes, but nowhere near the actual present. So that's like our only real part of the future there. So some things you ought to know. One, you just watched the movie Ex Machina. That's everything. It's about the Turing test. And I think it's important to watch that film in this class because the first film you watch is about the imitation game where Alan Turing comes up with his Christopher, his machine, which he embodies. He embodies it in a different way, and I'll explain that in a second, but he embodies it in a way that it's a robot, a machine, a thinking machine that he calls Christopher. In the Turing test of Ex Machina, Nathan calls it Ava, and I say it's very important that I use the terminology it because robots don't actually have a gender. Now, Nathan did gender his robots. He did it because he has a desire to use them for pleasure, which has obviously had not so great results for his outcome in the end, all right? So that's important to know, and obviously I'm not gonna spoil it in case some of you haven't gotten there yet, but you have to watch that because you'll have to respond to that in the end. But Ex Machina is a movie about AI and the singularity. It's about the moment where the Turing test can be completed. Once the Turing test is completed, we are aware that robots can think as well as humans can. And I think that's something that will happen within our lifetime. And we're actually working toward that progress. This isn't something that's speculative. We're going toward that. But it also brings into question what makes us human? What makes us people? What is a human's difference than that? And so there's books out there like Homo Deus and The Most Human that kind of encounter that idea, which is what does it mean, or how do you identify what humanness is in the age of robots? Now, the reason I ask that is because you saw the quantizing videos and the idea that we're quantizing everything with the Internet of Things. That is a proposed development of the Internet. That will be by 2025. And so while we're doing that, you have to start thinking about why do we need the IoT? So some examples. Why would we need smart slippers or smart diapers? Smart slippers recognize when somebody's wobbling and they send text messages to a loved one. And smart diapers, when the diaper is wet, text messages. Now, why would you need that? Well, in the end, it's kind of obvious. A smart slipper would be very helpful for somebody who's worried about an ailing parent or a grandparent who really needs some extra help and wants to be around. So when the slippers start recognizing unbalance, they could be less obtrusive about trying to help them out and just show up and kind of think about that. Smart diapers, on the other hand, are the same thing, but for the beginning of life, which is, wouldn't it be great to just reduce diaper rash and like make a baby's life a little easier, less crying? I mean, those types of things are there for that quantizing. On the other hand, it lets you think about what are they doing with that data? What are they doing with the people's data that come with that? You have to start thinking about that as well. It's very important to think about because when you think about just one example, the Nest thermostat, I'm not sure if any of you have that, but the Nest thermostat is actually owned by Google. When Google uses the Nest thermostat, when you use a Nest thermostat, Google gets that data and quantizes it. Then they know whether you like warm air or cold air or how you like to set your home. And that's very important because that means that the Internet of Things is not actually devices, but actually other people's computers that are in your house. We went from renting our phone numbers, which we do, you don't get to keep your phone number, to renting cable boxes, those aren't yours, to soon renting computers from other people that are going to be established in your house collecting your data. And it makes us think about things because we are moving toward this Internet of Things, this massive infrastructure of connected devices. And we have to ask, what if we were to lose that all one day? So let me just go through a few things of what the Internet of Things is actually advancing upon. Beyond the idea of just the devices and the wearables, the thing the Internet of Things is advancing on are connectivity to other objects. So one of the biggest object connections is that of self-driving cars. And you can see that in Google's self-driving car. So you'll be able to see that video right now.